So, the nature of sound. Functions of hearing, they can be divided into three levels. You have your unconscious, primitive level, signal warning about environmental monitoring in the place that you're in, and spoken language learning for communication. On the unconscious level, we have our most primitive function of hearing, the auditory background, and the sounds that serve to help identify a location. For example, hospital sounds, schools, or stores. And if that location does not produce your expected sound, you might become uneasy. For example, being in a school when there's no one there could invoke anxiety. On the primitive level, we also have our biological sounds like breathing, swallowing, chewing. They provide proof that we're alive, and sometimes people who lose their hearing suddenly may experience acute psychosis or feeling like disconnected from the world that they're in because they don't hear these sounds. Signal warning pertains more to the environment, so the knowledge of what's happening around us that promotes security. And not knowing the environment may induce anxiety. The greater the hearing loss, the greater the reduction in close and distance hearing. And children with hearing loss cannot casually overhear what people are saying around them. Now, children with normal hearing passively absorb information from the environment, and they learn by overhearing the speech of others. Children with hearing loss might seem distractible or oblivious to the environment and the events around them, and they could experience a disconnection from the environment. Children with hearing loss need to be taught directly many of the skills that children with hearing learn incidentally. A lack of access to social cues and the redundancy of spoken information that occurs over day-to-day transactions need to be taught. So tangential learning experiences are very important. Listening to other people's conversations teaches children how to start a conversation, make a request, solve a problem or negotiate, compromise, joke, tease, and use sarcasm. So let's say a mom and her friend are in the kitchen having a cup of coffee and talking about some event that's happening at their older child's school. And the infant is playing on the floor with their blocks. So even though the infant isn't actively being engaged in the conversation, the back and forth between the mother and the friend is incidental learning for this child. Or when the child goes with the mom to the bank teller and the mom asks the bank teller for, a deposit slip, the back and forth, the please, the thank yous, the not interrupting, the rules of conversation they're all just learned incidentally. But for children with hearing loss, they have to be taught. There has to be a conscious effort on the part of the adults around the child to teach what is learned incidentally for children with normal hearing. So children learn to talk through listening. Spoken communication does not develop naturally or completely for infants with hearing loss. It develops with a great deal of hearing and active listening experience. And remember, the inner ear is fully developed by the 5th month of gestation. So infants with normal hearing potentially have 4 months of in utero auditory stimulation prior to birth, and they begin to speak at approximately 1 year of age. This listening time cannot be skipped. Infants with hearing loss who miss months of brain access must make it up. So even if the infant is diagnosed at birth and they're implanted by 8 months, they still need to make up that time. The brain requires extensive experience for it to properly organize itself around the speech signal.